Hello, and welcome to another episode of Casting Views, a podcast hosted by me, Lou, and
Yeet, man.
a podcast where we talk about really anything and everything. It could be a popular topic in the media, it could be something random that's come to mind. And this month, we're doing
Eh,
what ifs.
Yeah.
What if month. So, what if cell phones existed last week? I did want to have a little bit of a note from last week as well. And that's because super familiar with the Wilsons made me realise that we're living life wrong in this country. There are some things that we haven't adopted, which we bloody should have. And so, what I've adopted this week is air conditioning, Dan.
I
There's
know, I was around your house, wasn't I, yesterday, and I saw it. So,
air conditioning.
although although the weather has cooled down a little bit now, hasn't
Yeah.
it?
So,
So,
in reality, it's actually still now colder outside than it is in my room with the air conditioner. But I've got it set to a very, very chilly 16 degrees in here, which is actually as low
yeah,
as it goes. But
nice,
yeah,
nice.
life changing, life changing. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, we
I
need
mean,
to
it is
adopt it.
still warm. It is still warm, isn't it? But nowhere near what we had last week. So we're
Oh
not like
yeah, no.
strapping ice pops under our armpits and lobsters down somewhere else.
It was weather where were getting out the shower and you're drying yourself off for about 10 minutes, not realizing if you were drying the water or the sweat that was
Yeah.
then coming off of you.
So hopefully we won't need to talk about the weather next week because hopefully it stays at this kind
I'm
of level.
I'm hoping so. So what I've done is I've basically got an air conditioning unit that now needs to go in the loft, and will only come out next summer for 2 weeks when we get 30-degree weather. So
Well, does it do heat?
I don't think it does. No, it's like one of those really basic ones where you've got like a tube out the window.
So you're going to be stubborn though now, and like even if it's like 10 degrees, you're going
Yeah,
to
100,
still put it on.
100%. That this air conditioning unit is staying on. When I'm getting the money's worth, it's going on. I don't care. As soon as I see sunlight, air conditioning's on.
No, there's ice on your nose. Don't care. I'm using it.
I'm just going to be frozen in one of these episodes, not responsive, and you'll be like, "Is he all right?"
Well, I'm going to change subject really completely because I just got really wound up by the most trivial of things. And I was telling a couple of the other people in our pod group that well, and I'm the most what's the word? Mild-mannered, quite calm. I'm easygoing, but it's the irrational things that make me really irrational. And do you know what it was, right? Got a 12 bag of crisps, right? There's three flavors, so four ready salted, four salt vinegar, four cheese and onion. Squares, so good crisps. I like them. I wanted cheese and onion, so I've opened the multi-pack, and of course the four cheese and onion had to be right at the bottom. Right, but they're not layered, so it's not like four already sorted, four salt vinegar. Those were all mixed up. But I had to take out 8 bags of crisps just to get the one I wanted. And yes, I could have had one of the others, but I really wanted cheese and onion. And that's just really wound me up. Yeah, so good luck with this episode, Lee.
Well, yeah, I know because we're already kicking it off to a bad start because it's say your Sainsbury's trip has already pissed you off as is. Can I just say though, on the multi-pack thing now,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
there always just a flavour that you don't like as well?
There's a least favorite flavor. Yeah, yeah.
See,
Usually
because with
salt and vinegar with me.
really, because I hate cheese and onion. I just think it's a
Love
flavour that
cheese.
doesn't make sense.
I've grown to love them. They were probably my least favorite, but now it's kind of the least favorite is salt and vinegar because they're often too vinegary. Or one I know you love, and I like them, but they're remember I don't hate them. Least favorite is a prawn cocktail.
Prawn cocktail are elite level crisps. Elite level
Like,
crisps.
are we doing old school crisps? Because you know discos like them. There's salt and vinegar
Yeah.
discos. You might as well just be drinking a bottle of vinegar.
They're very aggressive. I've always remembered it. Do you know if you ever have chapped lips, you can never eat salt and vinegar crisps because you just get burning for the next hour. Right. Actually, now getting into what we wanted to talk about. So we've got what ifs. Before we actually go into the subject, though, I'm going to hand off to Dan, but I'm going to leave you with a little bit of a teaser before the ads. And that's.
If you could get that, because to me that sounds like a completely different thing. But if you do guess that, let us know. Actually, yeah, genuinely, you've got about a minute before we go into the what if. So if you've got time, if you have worked it out, let me know, or let us know by email, castingviewspod@gmail.com or Twitter. Right. So first, Newsly. Newsly is an all-in-one audio super app for both iOS and Android. Picks up web articles and trending topics on the web at any given moment in time and reads them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time on the internet, the entire web becomes listenable all in one place. You can browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. Stop scrolling, start listening. You can follow any topic as specific as you like, from sports, tech, business, science, Bitcoin, or the Kardashians. It will find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud. And they've got podcasts on there as well. Explore trending podcasts from over 80 countries. Our podcast, Casting Views, is on there too. Download and use Newsly for free now from www.newsly.me or from the link in our show description. And if you use promo code CASTV, that's CASTV, that'll also be in the description, you'll get 1 month free premium subscription. And now for our podcast promo, we're going to hear from friend of the show, Justin at the Movie Wire.
In a world with so many movies to choose from, one man has created the go-to podcast for reviews of hot and trending movies, so you know what's worth your time. The Movie Wire Podcast with host Justin Henson. Hear Justin's movie verdict wherever you listen to podcasts. Tune in to The Movie Wire today.
And we're back. So, this what if from my absolutely butchered theme tune is what if aliens existed? So, if
What if
anybody did,
aliens existed? Yeah.
what if aliens existed? Now, if anybody did get that, 5 points for you. Just keep a mental note. We'll tally them up at the end of the year. I think I wanted to kick this off with whether or not you do think aliens exist from your personal
Just hold on.
perspective.
Were you doing Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
I
I
don't
think
know
that's
what
what you were
theme
trying.
tune it was.
Uh,
I'm just
do
so
do
out of
do
touch.
do do. I think that's what you're trying. That you sounded like it
What's
sounded like a being from
what's
Love
like the
Story. I think.
what's like the X Files theme tune? Was I way off from that as
Do
well?
do 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 do
Oh,
do.
see, that's more what I was going for, I think. But I think I've just merged the two.
But
But
sorry, yeah, aliens, aliens.
terrible knowledge of alien alien TV over. Um, do you think aliens are real?
I think they have to be. I think they
Okay.
have to be. I can't see how we can be the only life form out there. I just can't see it.
Yeah.
Or our planet, sorry, not because obviously we've got animals, etc. On it's not just humans, but I can't see where we're the only planet with life. I can't see it.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, like the universe in and of itself is a huge thing, so much so that like we can't see the majority of the universe because it's endless, or that's what we know. Maybe in 100 years they'll be listening to this and be like, "Ah, what idiots!" Um,
Yeah,
and so I think it would probably be a little bit not naive to, but yeah, but I guess a little bit like naive to think that there wasn't a living thing
yeah,
outside of this planet almost. Whether that
yeah,
be
yeah.
like proper sentient beings like we would consider humans to be, or again on the level like the way that we would view animals, for instance, that sort of thing. I think there must be somewhere, um, and I think that's probably my stance. Although again, it's like a case of never seen one, you can't prove it really.
Yeah, but I've been thinking about that. Well, uh, let's again peek behind the curtains. We literally decided to do this episode, I think, last night again, didn't we?
Yeah, we
So we
did. Yeah,
changed from what we have. So I've been thinking for all the grand total of last night about that, and yeah, I was thinking, why haven't we seen them? But then we've got this thing. What I've realised is we've got this thing that we think aliens are going to be always far superior to us, so
yeah,
that they're whizzing around the universe, holidaying, jaunting here and there. But we haven't done that yet. Yes, we've gone into space. Yes, we've landed on the moon. Yes, we're sending like little rovers to Mars. But why do we think? Well, two things. Why do we think aliens have to be superior to us? And two, why do we think they'd come to Earth first?
yeah. This is true. This is true. Just linking as well to the topic because we did have this discussion yesterday, and the only reason it pinged in my mind is because there was a story a few days ago. And I don't know if you picked up on this, but it was basically a radio signal that was detected by a radio telescope and traced back just into the galaxy far, far away, a bit Star Wars like. And it came in like bursts, apparently, in like intervals of point like two of a second. And so there was a pattern to them, and obviously it's indicative of like where did the signal come from? There must be something giving out that radio signal. So yeah, I think that
Love
that's
stuff
probably
like
what.
that.
Yeah, it's kind of eerie though, almost in a way. But then I guess we could potentially be doing that to other alien species, and they might think exactly the same thing. So I think that's probably kind of what sparked it.
I
Um,
do think though. Sorry, I was going to say I do think though that even though we're all prepared or well prepared, we think there are aliens. When it is confirmed or when we do have that first contact, our minds are going to be blown, man. Life won't be the same, I think,
No, no, not at all.
because we
Not
think
at
we're
all.
alone right now.
Yeah. And that's the thing as well. Like for me, it's a case of like an acceptance that there must be something living, but without that confirmation, it's kind of like a dream state almost. It's kind of something that you feel like is a possibility, but just not a reality.
It's like when we were talking about the horror films. It's like that the character in the horror film. You don't want to look behind that door. You don't want to open the door in the creek house because you don't want to actually believe what's that something behind there. So for now, we're quite blinkered. We don't necessarily, maybe, or a lot of people don't want to think there's anything out there. So we're kind of happy to go along as it is. But it's that moment you do realize there is that life form. Yeah, our perception of space and our perception of life will change, and it can't not.
Yeah, and that's the thing. In reality, you think about all of the like belief systems that we have on Earth, for instance. So whether it be like religion or the way that we look at things, surely that perception as well must change based on the fact that there are aliens. Because if you look at like lots of belief systems in the world, it's like human beings are the one and only. Imagine then if at that point you actually had concrete evidence that there were unidentified life forms elsewhere, like so much would the world would fall apart in the way that it looked at life, if that makes sense.
It's interesting you said that, actually, because I'm going to come on to something I was going to mention later, but I found an article that apparently in 2016 and 2017, NASA did run a program attended by 24 religious people, from different religions,
Yeah.
to talk about how they would react if contact was made with aliens. And it's like, do you think they're doing that to kind of already start paving the way? It's that classic. Once you hear that, and people are saying it's a conspiracy. Why are they doing that? It's almost like we are holding aliens at bay, or we've made a deal with them not to come down till we're kind of ready, because the world is burning right now anyway.
Yeah, yeah, this is true, yeah.
Again, so why would aliens come here? But yeah, the fact that NASA has now started having these meetings with these religious leaders or religious groups to understand how they'd react to aliens, alien life form, I think that's quite an interesting thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing when you look at it, especially from kind of like the prism of religion, I guess you would say, is what there's 7 or 8 billion people on this planet. Don't quote me, I don't keep up with the life tracker. But I would imagine that probably 5 billion of them are practicing in terms of religion. So I think it's an important thing. And obviously, NASA in and of themselves, it kind of leads on to the argument of, do you know, when you see in like movies and pop culture, for some reason we've always had the perception that aliens are the skinny bodied, like grey with
Well,
the
I was
big
going to
wide
come on
head.
to this. Yeah.
And but that's what it is. So do you know when you look at the conspiracy theory, it's like, have we been provided images of what to expect, because that's what the reality would be.
The argument has always been that these films about aliens have been supposedly trying, what's the word, get us ready for alien life. They're conditioning us.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, they are either, like you said, they're either the really smooth skinned, white, tall legged, long armed, sort of the black eye, no other facial features creatures, or they're slimy. They're slimy,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
angry. Why
They're
can't they look
covered.
like us?
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
can't
This
they
is what
look
I
like
mean.
cats?
Yeah,
They could be a race of alien cats.
yeah. And this is the thing, because I think, isn't it called the alien greys or grey aliens? Are like
Oh,
the
possibly.
traditional.
Yeah,
I think that's what
yeah.
it is. But it's true. Or they're covered in like some mucusy, membraney shit, and they've got like 12 legs, and do you know what I mean? They're like monsters almost, or they're just people enough. So I think, do you know what it is with the
Just
alien
people
grey
enough.
thing? Yeah, they're just people enough that it's like, oh, that's very strange in the way that the alien grey looks, but they're human-like enough that it's not a terrifying proposition. So it's a bit like Paul.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that's the way that aliens have been positioned, human-looking, but just different enough that it's uncomfortable.
I still think it's like, all these attempts at understanding what aliens look like. And I think we'll be really disappointed because I think they will just look like us. Yeah, you might even be, we keep having these doppelgangers. Maybe that's what dreams are. Where you have dreams that you're doing really weird things. Maybe you're dreaming of your alien doppelganger.
And it's just like an alternate reality.
Yeah, you're seeing what they're going through. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, yeah. See, and what it is it's like telekinesis.
Come on, NASA, tell us I'm wrong. Come on.
We're gonna get shut down by NASA. This
But
episode's
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
get
yeah.
pulled.
And like I said, I think, we films as well have gone so far into trying, and we'll probably talk about this, won't we? Like the different aliens, or what's your kind of favorite alien, or what type would you want to come up against, or not come up against, like we did with our psycho killers in the horror movies. But I just think that we've built them up to be these far superior race. I mean, if they're coming to contact with us first, then they have to obviously be superior, because then they've got that tech to bring people over and land here, which we supposedly can't. It's interesting because I think I've mentioned in another episode that this radio presenter I listened to, he believes, or his theory, and he says he believed it, and I'm gonna say that he's not having a laugh. But he said, like, why couldn't humans have come from Mars? You know, that Mars was being ruined and we had to leave there, and we settled on Earth. And where I'm going with that is, again, if you kind of believe that, then could it be that that life across the planets does all look the same?
Yeah, yeah,
And I think what he was saying by that, sorry, is that, that's why if we do find remnants of things, like, we're finding water. Did they say they found like evidence of water on Mars, I think,
yeah.
or was that on the moon? And that's because, humans did live there and we had to leave there, and we found Earth, and have come here. But there's the argument, though, that different planets and galaxies, etc., got different atmospheres and temperatures. So we might, we might have, in another planet where it's so hot, we might have developed air conditioning units on our backs or something. Or
Oh, what a dream.
self-regulating bodies. Yeah. Yeah.
See, because my perspective on like the whole alien contact thing is, again, do you know what's weird is, like, you're talking about like a human perspective, but you don't know what aliens would be in and of themselves, or what like moral sense they would have as a species and that sort of thing. But my perspective is that if aliens existed in the capacity that they could travel to us, they wouldn't travel to us and make contact with us. And that's because if we're so far back in terms of technology and advancement, because obviously, like you say, they would have to be far more advanced than us to get here, why would you contact them? But I think about that from the human perspective. So have you ever heard of that island? I think it's North Sentinel Island.
No.
So I think it's a island. I think it's near India, or like off the coast of India almost. And it's one of like the last uncontacted like modern world civilizations, basically. So it's
Okay. Okay.
occupied by the Sentinelese, and there's a group. So I think the island now is actually protected by the Indian government, so people can't visit. And that's because I think there were attempted visits where people went missing. I actually believe that hundreds of years ago, the tribe was contacted by, like, voyagers who then brought people back, and then they were
Yeah. Yeah.
infected with modern disease at the time, which was
Right.
200
Right.
years
Yeah.
ago, brought back, but lots of them died. And so as a result, there was like a resentment between that civilization and what was essentially the rest of the world, because obviously that story is then told for generations that weird people turned up, took a load of members of the civilization, and then they returned dead, basically. But I think from that perspective, like, we now leave well enough alone, because at that point they're so far behind in terms of modern world, whether that be technology, disease is obviously the biggest one, that we now won't contact them because it's easier to leave that civilization alone. So when you apply that principle to aliens, why would aliens contact us if we're so far behind in terms of technology that we're still using cassettes and they're using Apple Music? Do you know what I mean? That's like, as a stupid metaphor, that's kind of the way that I look at it.
Well, and again, and you raise a really good point here, because anything we're going to apply to it, I think it's through a lens of how we see our lives or civilization on this planet.
Yeah,
So, or one theory I'd put to you would be, well, their planet's dying, and so they'd want to come here. But it's like, that would then mean that they're treating their planet like shit. Now, maybe they might be a cleverer race than us, and they're not. Do you see what I mean? So everything I think we think about it, or well, that I won't say you, but I'll say I think about it, is going to be prejudiced by how we see, I guess, our life here. Now, maybe experts and philosophers and professors can do that. Maybe that, they're far cleverer than I. But yeah, I'd say either that they want to come because there's a problem on their planet, or maybe they just want to hang out. Maybe they're
yeah,
getting
yeah,
lonely as well, or bored. And I was also thinking about, when you said that, because it's funny, I was also arguing with myself internally at the time as well, that the whole thing about saying we haven't seen aliens up till now also would you'd have to think that we're on an even level in terms of advances in science. But
Yeah,
who's to say alien races aren't like 100,000 years ahead of us, and like I said, could have come over 500 years ago and decided we're not worth it.
yeah, yeah.
Um, or how do we know they're not 1,000 years behind us? So again, it's all this. What's the word? We're putting all these conditions around it, and we think it's all a level field. I think at the moment, or we always think of it as a level field, or that aliens are would be far advanced of us.
Yeah, whereas in reality, we at some point in the future could be the alien race
Yeah,
that goes and visits.
yeah, and maybe they're having a couple of aliens are having a podcast right now. Dan and
Yeah.
Lou of Planet Tharg are having a conversation and say,
This is being transmitted across the galaxies.
if they do want to do a link up, yes.
I had a little bit. Now, do you know what it is? Is alien encounters. The thing that's problematic, obviously, and this was a good point, not raised by me. I'll have to give my parents credit for this, because obviously we go on the basis that, oh well, what evidence do we have of aliens? And it's a case of like, you see grainy footage of like a strange object in a video, or it's always that sort of thing, stranger lights in the distance. And they raised a fair point, which I think is reasonable, because they said, well, even if that was actually an alien, at what point do you believe it? So at what point, what level of evidence do you think you need in order to see one? Does one have to stand in front of you? Is it an object in the sky? Is it literally the flying saucer turning around? Does ET have to land? Like, what do you think would be evidence enough for you?
And that is a good question, because I was also going to say that for me, most evidence, I will say it is bollocks.
Yeah.
And that's my first swear. I've got the swear out at first in this episode. I think a lot of it is bollocks, and I will always think of it as bollocks because so much of it has been faked,
Yeah.
and that's the problem. But what I would say, and again, I was thinking about this morning, is I think I'm much more skeptical now, because we are in the TikTok generation. We are where you can do fancy effects on your own phone and filters where it makes it look like someone's standing next to you. So I would say that if I had to look at it through like a prism of time, that maybe I'd be a bit more now. I think the past ones from like 30, 40 years ago would be, I'd want to go revisit those again. But
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
those were fake. Like there was a famous one of the girl who took the picture with the fairies at the end of the garden. I don't
Yeah.
know if
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
and
I
that was
remember that.
famously fake. But even back then, so I would say that almost have to either, it's one of two things. It's either that it's reported in the media or the news, how how manipulated we can be by them. But it's either got to be something that's reported by like NASA or a
Yeah.
government organization like that. Or yeah, or I'd have to see it and think there can be no other explanation. Like if a ship lands and an alien comes out and it's not what was it? We used to have Beatles about, but you had Punked, wasn't it? Where it's not like or what is it? What's that other one? Those Jokers. If it's not that, you'd have to almost see it. So yeah, for me, it's either an organization declaring it, or it's some sort of personal experience.
Yeah, because obviously there's lots of programs on television, and even if you look at like proper reported UFO sightings, there's literally hundreds every decade. And I think the argument that's always come about is, well, why would people lie about UFOs? Because another thing that I had down in my notes was crop circles.
Yeah, oh my word, that was huge.
Yeah, they were. And the thing is, as well, I read about crop circles. So the term was first coined in the 1980s. And this is the opening line: crop circles have been described as all falling within the range of the sort of thing done in hoaxes. And that's a professor of physics at the Truman State University. And basically, that crop circles created by aliens are all just like fringe, like
Thought they were caused by raves.
yeah, 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 exactly. Like it's again, it was like always the old like stereotype that it was just a farmer in a field with a barrel, like rolling it around.
But I can't impress upon you how huge they were at the time. It felt like every other week or every other day there was a story in the paper about crop circles, and it was they were all circular or patterns of circles, but really intricate. And it was
Yeah,
amazing, all perfect. So that was what it was. It was like, well, if it was a person doing it, they'd have to go to some extent to get that done at that level of detail.
Yeah, but that's the thing. When was the last time you saw a story about crop circles?
Well, I was going to say this to you. When was the last time? Again, maybe it's because we had less TV and we had to make it more, had have more entertainment back in the day. But UFOs and alien sightings just don't seem to be that common anymore.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
So maybe was it that the aliens did come and test us out and now they're not there anymore, or have we moved on from that? But in my head, the 80s and 90s were like so common of people talking about it.
Well, this is the thing, because if you look at reported UFO sightings, I think between in the 21st century, so this is from 2000 onwards, I think there was about 15 that were properly documented with people that gave testimony, and it ranged from, like pilots. Majority of it was like military stuff. It was pilots or it was like commercial flights, that sort of thing. But then as you scroll, look previously to the decades before, it's literally hundreds a year, and it feels like it's all slowed down. Now, is that because the aliens realize that, oh, we're being seen too often, we can't be seen anymore, and so as a result visit less? Or is it just a case of that's what was popular at the time? Because it's like the crop circles thing, and we've seen it in recent times, isn't it? Like internet trends are things that people
Yes,
hop on.
yeah,
So I don't know
yeah.
if you remember, there was the whole killer clown thing. Do you remember that? This was a
Yeah, we've
few years
discussed that
ago.
killer clown, Slender Man,
Yeah, yeah.
all sorts of things like that. And I think, yeah, it is a trend that people jump on.
And so to me, it's kind of like, was the crop circles UFO sightings thing just a trend that people jumped on at the time? It was just prior to a social media age.
Or is there also, imagine you're in a time where every other story or every other day there's a story about alien sighting, UFO sighting. And, I've mentioned it in one of the other episodes. Your mum subscribed to a monthly book. It was like the paranormal things of the unexplained. So if you're living in a time like that, where like the X Files is like the top show, things like that, and then you're out and you, in the corner of your eye, you see something shoot across the sky. Are you going to think, oh, that's just something in my eye, or it could be a shooting star? Or are you going to think, oh no, I've just seen a UFO?
Yeah. Again, it's like
So
the
maybe
conditioning
it's that.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was
And
actually going to say, oh, sorry, go on.
well, do you know what it is? Is the other thing, the other argument that you hear a lot with the sightings, especially. So, do you know, like you get the programs on the History Channel now? Why they're on the History Channel and they have like Ancient Aliens and all of these programs, I don't know. I remember a time where the History Channel used to be useful, but alas, time's gone by.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the arguments is, oh well, why would people lie? Why would people lie about either being abducted or seeing aliens or whatever it might be? And my argument for that back, because again, like I said, I think it's naive to think that other life forms don't exist, but I can't prove that they do. So at this point, I just have to go on the basis that we've never seen them, so we don't know. But my argument would be, lots of people were burned at the stake for being witches, but we know that witches don't exist. And it's because when you look at stuff like the Salem witch trials, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, you look at mass hysteria, people either lying for the purposes of personal gain or whatever it might be to create a story, to create some sort of fame. It's just a common thing.
Well, why do people lie? They lie for attention. They lie for money, or they're not lying. That's
Yeah,
the three things. So when I said why do they lie, I've just mentioned the fairies at the end of the garden. We spoke about the Enfield haunting,
yeah,
where that came out. Where well, if you believe it or not, debate or not, that they're saying that was fake. If you're the first person that gets that credible picture of an alien, and especially back in the day, there were sightings that people were being interviewed in the papers left, right, and centre. So if you get that shot, that we see the same pictures over and over again. If you get that shot, you're going to get your 15 minutes of fame.
yeah, I
You're
agree.
you're going to get your newspaper interview. You're going to get your check for however many thousands of pounds. And if you see someone else do that, well, I can do that, and so
Yeah,
I will do that.
it kind of follows like the same thing, because do you remember there's that really famous picture of the Loch Ness monster, and it's like that
Yeah,
grainy
yeah.
black and white image, and I think that turned out to be a fake because the person who did it admitted it and said it was like two barrels tied together with some like
Like a spare
tubing.
tires. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
two spare tires, and yeah. I want the Loch Ness monster to be real though.
But as well, do you not think that a lot of these images came at a time where technology was less advanced? So a grainy image was much more convincing in the 70s, 80s. And as a result, people didn't have mobile phones where we could take high res images where you can see a bit of string hanging and a UFO sitting there. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's why we probably did believe it a lot more then. Or well, when I say believe it, I mean it was more of a thing around it, more like a hysteria around it. Is because yeah, like I said, now on your even on your iPhone or your Samsung, you can do all kinds of effects. You can take a picture, edit it. You can put yourself hugging the celebrity you want. But back then you couldn't. It was with a point and click camera with film, and you had to, I'm not saying you couldn't fake pictures, but I think it was out of the realm of the normal person on the street to
Yeah.
fake pictures.
It took a lot of effort that was set up because it all had to be done physically.
And now, like you said, now we are expecting everything is so clean. We mentioned last week, didn't we? Josh was saying that you can take pictures on your phone better than you can with like SLRs from the past, maybe.
Yeah.
So now I don't think we're going to stand for a blurry picture or a grainy picture like we probably would have done back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now
I
we want
agree.
clarity. But I was just going to say, I was looking at an article here, actually on Wikipedia, but do you know what they've got as one of the first ever sightings?
Okay. What is this like first recorded?
Yeah, yeah. Do you wanna have a guess? Like we've talked a lot about the
When?
80s and when. So
Um,
yeah.
well, I imagine that it must have been documented like hundreds of years ago, and it must have just been like objects or just unidentified things in the sky, surely. But like the Mayans, wasn't it the Mayans that had like drawings of like ships and that sort of thing?
Kind of, this is the first one they've got is circa 1440 BC.
Oh wow,
Yeah, so
that's like
1440 BC, yeah.
that's like ancient Egypt or
It is ancient
like
Egypt, yeah.
oh yeah
Yeah.
okay yeah
Fiery disc. So it was according to the disputed I'm gonna say Thule papyrus. The scribes of the pharaoh, I'm not going to pronounce it, uh, reported that fiery discs were encountered floating over the skies. The Condon Committee disputed the legitimacy of this papyrus, saying Thule was taken in and the papyrus is a fake. It kind of just goes to show that even back then in 1440, they were talking BC, that is, they were talking about mysterious objects in the sky. And then if I have a look at the next ones, I'm not necessarily saying these are all of them, but there was 218 BC. There were ships in the sky in Rome, Italy. 76 BC, a spark falling from a star in the Roman Republic. 74 BC, a flame-like object from the sky again. And in 196 AD, angel hair in Rome. They described a fine rain resembling silver descended from a clear sky upon the forum of Augustus. So, these kind of things have been going on since almost the dawn of man.
yeah. And do you know what it is as well? Because I think we touched on it previously with like, did we talk about a story where there was like an illness in a school that went round because people all thought they were sick when they weren't sick? And there's a lot of reports where there's like entire towns that have seen UFOs. But again, it kind of still is explainable by the fact that like the mass hysteria thing caught on and everybody just felt the effect of it together. So they all vouched for it almost. It's a weird thing.
Then also, along with that, and I won't necessarily go into it, but then alien abductions became a big thing.
Yeah.
That kind of was treading the line between, being a frightening story, but then it goes back to what I'm saying. Why do we assume that aliens are coming here with the intention of harming us? That's the
Yeah,
thing.
because
It's like,
that's what it is. They're all predicated on the basis that aliens are hostile things.
like I said, they may just want to come over and like do some intergalactic World Cup or something.
Yeah, or it's like, this is the thing. I mean, like with that uncontacted civilization on the North Sentinel Island, it's like what we do is we view it from a distance because we spectate it, because we know
Yeah,
that we can't go
yeah.
there. So it's just research gathering, isn't it? Because it's interesting to us. So maybe that's what we could be.
But it is funny though how those instances I gave at the start are all like fire and glistening rain and things like that. But then over time, it's become like discs. It was like floating discs. So now it's becoming like sightings, then sightings of aliens. So it's weird how it's progressed from like just shimmering or flame-like substances to now we see craft.
Yeah. And do you know what gets me as well is like in the way again, like a little bit like what you said, they're all reported in the same way. So if you look at any reports, it's cigar shaped objects, it's
Yeah, yeah.
discs, it's do you know what I mean? It all fits the same narrative. Like where's the eight winged bright pink? Do you know
I
what
want
I
the
mean?
Millennium Falcon. I want the Millennium
Yeah, this is
Falcon.
what I mean. Like if you turn around, this is what I mean. Why couldn't aliens be like Chewbacca?
Or is Star Wars a documentary?
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is the thing because, funnily enough, leading on from that, I actually had a load of references,
Yeah.
basically in film, because obviously we'll have to talk about what we think aliens would be if they did come. So there's a couple that are, well, this is the thing. Most of them are all of death and destruction. That's just what they are. So a lot
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
references that I've got are. So I think one of my favorite alien films is War of the Worlds, and that's the Tom
Okay.
Cruise one,
Okay.
only
Yeah. The
because
top.
that's the
Yeah.
one that I, watched and grew up with. And obviously that's like aliens being here before us, if that makes sense, because they came out of the ground, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, very death and destruction. Here to like harvest us for whatever reason. I haven't watched that film in ages. I have to give it a rewatch now. And so I wanted to know what you think the closest reality to aliens coming to this planet would be. So I had a couple of films, and I don't know if you want to
All
either
right.
run through them or talk about them, and if you've got some of your own,
No. No. Go
that
for
would
it.
be
Go
good as
for it.
well. So on the basis of crop circles, I've got signs.
Oh yeah. We discussed that a couple of weeks ago.
We did, and again, it's got something to do with like water and disease, hasn't it? I think at the end.
You know what? It's a film I haven't seen for years, but there was something about water. Yeah. Yeah.
See, because one of the films that I've always liked as well, and is more so a link between humans as opposed to like a properly hostile thing, is it District 9, the one based in South Africa
Yeah.
predominantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is the one where like aliens have crashed here, have the technology to get here, but then can't get back, and they're treated like second class citizens here.
Yeah.
But in and
Yeah.
of themselves, like they are communicative, where you can communicate with them to an extent. Like they are in and of themselves like not an aggressive species. It's just a case of accidentally being here.
And we're treating them badly, aren't we?
Yeah, yeah, we are in actual fact the ones that are the destructive ones at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I actually think that if you look at it from like again the way that we view the world in terms of like our world view and not an alien view, I think that if aliens did land here and had no capacity to get back, that's actually probably the closest to what it would be in a real world situation from our perspective. Because would we want aliens just roaming around freely? Absolutely not. Would we lock them probably in prisons if they couldn't get back? Probably.
All depends, like if they've come all guns blazing. I guess if they come down
Yeah, yeah.
shooting, like have you ever seen Mars Attacks?
No, I haven't actually.
You should watch that. It's like a really over the top film. If they come sort of talking the talk, then yeah, then there would be that fear. My thing, when you were saying all that, is one of the things as well that kind of War of the Worlds touches on. We also have to think that an alien life form, or we, if we went out over there, can survive on that planet. So maybe they wouldn't survive. Maybe they can't survive if they don't have their tech
Yeah.
or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's like Earth is inhabitable, but we don't know if it's inhabitable for other aliens. So could they survive here if they crash land? That's the thing.
Yeah, this is true because that's like the argument about humans being on Mars, isn't it? It's like how many thousands of years would it take you to adapt to actually be able to live on Mars as a thing without the assistance of pods that you'd need to live in?
Go back to your question though, I think we would have them separated because they would be fascination, wouldn't they? People would want to hunt them out. People would want to see them. It'd be kind of be like maybe like the next Beatlemania or something.
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
you know what I mean? But and I kind of use that in a mocking sense. What I mean is, it would just be people clamoring to see the
yeah.
alien.
It would be like alien zoos, is what we'd have.
And again, it all does depend on what they look like because
Yeah,
we are
it's
that
true.
shallow. We are that
Yeah,
shallow. If
yeah,
they look nice, then we'd be all right. If they looked evil, we'd think they're evil.
yeah. And do you know what it is as well? That's what it is. It's perception, isn't it? Because it's like if they came down and they were like Paul, we'd probably be all right with it. But again, it's like even the contact thing. It's like, do we think that an alien species would land here and talk to us in some strange alien language that we didn't understand? It's like, no, if an alien craft had the technology to travel millions of light years just to land on planet Earth, I'm sure they would be able to communicate in Earth language. You would
And his
think,
homework.
surely. Yeah,
They
yeah.
will have done their homework.
Yeah, you
Maybe
would
that's
think that
why
they
they've
would have.
taken that. Maybe that's why they've come thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago, because they've started doing the recce then.
Yeah, that's what it is. And maybe that's what the abductions are. They need teachers.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that's why they're going to look human-like because they know,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
want to appeal friendly.
Well, this is the thing, but could it be potentially? So again, this is a really, really ridiculous reference. Transformers,
Yeah,
right? Robots in disguise
I want to
are
see
like
where this goes. Yeah,
technology based like living organisms, aren't they? They're like biological, like
Tech aliens, yeah.
Yeah, basically. So that whole thing is based on an alien species having a war, their planet becoming inhabitable, and them just seeking refuge on planets that they happen to find. So could it be that potentially there are advanced species out there that eventually find their way to Earth by virtue of the fact that they are destructive in the nature that potentially humans might be? Like, we have wars. In reality, if you look at one consistent thing that humans have done really well over the course of the last couple of thousand years, it's get more advanced ways of finding. Sorry, it's finding more advanced ways of killing each other. In reality,
Yeah,
you go from
yeah.
swords to catapults to guns to machine guns to bombs to nuclear bombs. Do you know what I mean? So
Now we'll have
could it
ray
potentially
guns.
be? Yeah. This is what I mean. They just have way. Yeah, they'd be living a Call of Duty mystery box life. They would. Aliens landing on Earth with the thunder gun.
But maybe though, if we do make contact, this is a happy thought now. Maybe wars could be a thing of the past because we can have the tech to go to these other planets, so people can go where they want, and this Earth can breathe a little bit, and people can go elsewhere. And maybe spreading out in the universe might make things better. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, because I guess there's less opportunity for conflict. Maybe.
You're out traveling the universe now. If
Yeah,
we've got
yeah.
new tech,
You're hopping
in
on a
the end,
flight to Pluto rather than to.
and that's what I was going to say is about looking human-like. So kind of like if we do the other one of the big franchise like Men in Black, well, apparently aliens are already with us.
Yeah. Just shape
Aliens
shifting.
are, yeah. So why not?
Yeah, and this is true. This is the thing, because again, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Because like, there's always that thing about like reptilian people, isn't there? Like walking amongst us, and
Yeah,
there's like
yeah.
videos,
The
grainy
Queen.
videos that you see on. Yeah. That's what it is, though, isn't it? Like, it's the most ridiculous thing in the world. But then, if you apply that principle, it's like, if you believe that aliens are a thing, any one theory, even if they were here already, would be plausible to you.
Well, why would they then keep hiding if they're here and they look like us? Then they're already better than us. So why would they
Yeah,
have to keep hiding?
yeah.
It all comes to with everything. It's the why. So why would they do this, or why wouldn't they do this?
Yeah, because again, another one that I thought of was Cloverfield. It looks a bit like, is it the Muto from Godzilla? That's
Oh,
what I remember
okay.
it
I
looking
think
a bit like.
yeah.
But again, would it just be like, when we look at the scale of Earth, right? Earth comparatively to other planets is tiny. Earth compared to the sun is tiny. Why wouldn't aliens be literally planet-sized things to us potentially? Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Is there a planet
Or
elsewhere? Like,
teeny,
are we?
teeny
Yeah, no.
tiny.
Yeah, this is what I mean. Are we seriously ants in the perspective of other aliens, like scale? Does that make
Yeah,
sense? Like, would
yeah.
other aliens be these humongous monster looking things that are like city destroying? If they decided to destroy cities, why they would, I don't know. But potentially, is that like a reasonable thing when you look at like a planet like Jupiter, or what's the other really big one? Saturn. That's the one that's got the
Yeah.
ring around it. When you look at planets like that, if there were those size planets, you would expect aliens to be bigger than us. Or potentially, again, are there really tiny planets that to us are the equivalent of tiny specks?
So it could be when we see these new, you find these weird, mysterious new bugs. They could be aliens.
Yeah, exactly.
I want my aliens to be like ET, friendly, kind of wants to come, wants to go home eventually. He's kind of makes friends, makes bikes fly. That's what I want.
You basically just want alien tourism.
Yeah, I kind of want them to be friendly.
Yeah,
Like I said,
alien
I
alien
want
tourism over alien terrorism.
like yeah, like if he's sitting in my car and I'm in traffic, he can make the car fly a little bit, sort of take me out the traffic, get me to work that bit sooner. My idea though of the alien hell, although I think they are bloody cool the way they look, is the alien from Alien.
Okay, yeah.
We have to say they're probably one of the nastier ones, right?
Yeah.
I think cool in how they've been designed.
And also one of the most atrociously scary looking ones as well. Like, yeah, that would be your absolute worst situation, I think.
Although, could you imagine if the ship does land and you're getting ready for like an ET or Chewbacca, and out comes the alien.
You're getting ready for pull, and then alien comes out. You're like, shit.
Who wanted to go first? No. You go first. You go look now.
But that's the thing. And do you know what scene always strikes me from the film War of the Worlds? Is, do you know where there's the storms at the very beginning, and they all meet in the town centre, and that church starts to crack in half, isn't it? And I don't
Yeah,
know if
yeah.
they've done that intentionally because, Aliens with the whole religion thing, and it's like the
Oh,
church
maybe.
breaking
Yeah,
apart.
yeah,
It would be
yeah.
a really clever bit of film direction if they have done that. I'm gonna have to look that up afterwards. We'll do that in next week's things that we missed. Um, and it's the scene, do you know, where they're all just staring at this alien ship coming out of the ground? And that
Yeah.
scene has always been one that sticks with me because it's like, would that be your reaction? Because in my mind, if I saw that, boy, I can't run because I'm fat. But best believe I'd be moving at fucking light speed in the opposite direction of whatever machine metal thing was coming out of the ground. I would not be stood there on Instagram Live being like, yo, ET's cut. No, 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 fuck that. I'm going home to my air conditioned room and I'm getting under the covers.
Yeah, could you imagine? Yeah, nowadays you would have someone with their phone filming it on TikTok, putting that "Oh no" music to the back. You know.
It's like
Yeah.
people being vaporized, and it's just like the video. It's like, you're done. You're done.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh dear.
Could you
Oh God.
imagine like an alien jumping on like a TikTok trend? That's what it would be. That would be the first thing. It'd be TikToker goes viral for getting the first like viral dance with an alien.
Or yeah,
That's what.
or the alien comes out off the ship with a mobile filming.
Yeah.
Well, why wouldn't it be doing that? But going back to a theme though that you're mentioning though, like with War of the Worlds, I mean that is, I guess, going to be the key thing is what they could bring with them or what we could give to them,
Yeah.
because that's got to be a valid concern, right?
Yeah, but this is the thing. I guess the War of the Worlds thing is all about water, isn't it? It's germs. Like the end of the film is all predicated on
It's
the fact that we
germs.
didn't
Yeah, yeah,
actually need
yeah,
to
yeah,
hurt aliens. Aliens just weren't
yeah,
acclimatized to this planet. I mean, again, it applies for the instances of uncontacted civilizations. Like we humans, modern humans, I guess you would say, gave these uncontacted civilizations diseases that they couldn't cope
yeah,
with.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
true. Like that, I guess, would be our biggest concern with going to a planet. It's like, we have COVID here. I guess that we've just come out of a pandemic. Like, what is the equivalent disease in a species? Or are they so far advanced that disease isn't a thing?
And this is going to be the whole thing about alien life, right? Is just the uncertainty. We don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
We can't know.
Like, do they come here and cure cancer and all of these terrible diseases just because it's the goodness of what they want to do? But do you know, we need to direct a film where aliens just come and do good. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
they,
Well,
they,
I honestly do. Remember Aliens, when you come in, I actually think you're going to come for good. So if you're not well intentioned, I'm on your side.
because that's the thing as well. Thinking about it again, this is stupid because we're Earthlings, so we think from Earthling perspective.
Or
If you
are
were to
we?
travel here, yeah, or are we? um, if aliens did come here,
Yeah.
for what reason would it be destructive? From a logical perspective, aliens that are so far advanced that would have at this point had to travel from beyond what we can see in the universe to us. What would be the need for like harvesting humans or destroying a planet as
That's what I'm
opposed to
saying to you.
advancing a civilization? It doesn't
That's what I'm
actually
saying. I
make
can't get it.
sense.
I can't get it. It's going to be accidental. Like, they don't realize that shooting a ray gun at us is going to kill us. Maybe over there it's like it's like a Nerf gun or something, and
Yeah, yeah, it's like an
it
instant
tickles you.
heal gun.
Yeah, so maybe there's something accidental. But yeah, I like I said, the only thing, and again, this comes from too many sci-fi films, but is because they need a new planet or they need an energy source. But that just feels so, it's like they've got to go a long way out of their way to do that.
Yeah,
How do
and
they
it's
know
like,
their planet's going to survive the journey, the time it takes to get there? And if they
yeah,
can develop a ship that gets here within seconds, then surely they can cure whatever's going on their planet.
yeah, this is the thing. Like, surely at that point you are sufficient enough as is. Because again, another film that strikes me is Independence Day.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
And
Okay.
you've got is it ships all over the world or is it just in the States? I can't remember. I think it's ships all over the world, if I
I
remember
thought it was
rightly.
over the world. Yeah, yeah.
And I remember in that film, they put that helicopter with the lights on it. And then, like, lights beam out of the thing and it immediately gets destroyed. And we're like, oh, we're immediately at war with aliens. Like, would that be our perspective? Like, an alien lands here and we're just like, that's it. The world's at war with aliens.
Well,
Even
we are that
irrespective
kind
of
of
what we know.
society now, aren't
Yeah,
we?
yeah, I think we would. I think if Paul lands here, steps out of his ship, there's a bomb being dropped on him immediately, no questions asked.
The only other thing I can think of why they'd come is to tell us to shut up and stop sending music into their planet, into space and into their planet, or can we send some, I don't know, can we send some pop rather than classical music or something?
I'm telling you, if you want to find out if aliens exist, play some little pump into the radio waves. They'd be here to destroy us in a heartbeat.
Yeah, if they come, oh, that'd be even creepier if they come and they start playing classical music because that's all they know from us. Classical music, it would instill fear in me more than anything. You want them we want them to be playing Eminem.
Yeah, I do wonder as well, why is it classical music that's the selection? Is it because it's calming? It's relatively like we as humans see classical music as like masterpieces and they're beautiful things, I guess the general consensus is. Is it because that's the perception that we have? Because an alien might just hear that as white noise. And it might be
Yeah,
as do you know,
mate.
like it might be like nails on a chalkboard equivalent
Yeah,
to them.
it could be that we are going to destroy you. That's what it could be.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
could
that's
be
what I
that.
mean. That's what the message could be reading.
I reckon it is done for what you said. That it's classic. It is classic. It's something. It's imposed by a great person of our time. Maybe there's some structure to the music. I don't know. Maybe it's got a certain sequence or something. I don't know.
But this is the thing, how do we know that aliens can even hear? How do we know that they
Yeah,
have the
yeah,
same
yeah,
senses as us? Like we look at
yeah.
aliens again from the perspective of us, like touch, sight, smell, like hearing. How do we not know that aliens don't actually audibly talk to each other? They just transmit messages between each other.
And that's it. That's what I was trying to say earlier. Yeah, everything we think is based on our perception of humanity and life now. I think.
Yeah.
We've skirted around the big one though. We've not really spoken about Roswell, have we?
No. And this is a big one because it's strange because it's always this. Do you know what's funny is my dad was watching a documentary about this the other day,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
for the 700th time, and I don't know if you've seen the historian that does it a lot. He's got absolutely mental hair.
yeah. I know the one you mean.
You
Yeah,
know, do you know what it is? That's all you need to
yeah.
say. And if you've ever seen the History Channel or Ancient Aliens or whatever it is, this guy is always on it. Always on it. I'll let you, have you got notes on Roswell then?
No, no, I haven't. No, I haven't. I'm just saying that that is the big one though, isn't it?
Yeah, because that's
It
always the one that people think, oh, it was the government that covered it up. It was conspiracy because they found what looked like tinfoil, didn't there? And then there's pictures of the Roswell incident, obviously followed by lots of testimony from locals and that sort of thing, and also police officers as well.
I would probably know why back then they'd want to hide it, but why would you hide it now? The thing is, in the end, I think, I think it'd be a good thing if we know there's life out there. I
Yeah,
can't
I
see
think so
why I'd
too.
think it's a bad thing. Like I said,
Yeah.
the odds are there's got to be. I'd rather know now, and then that'd be cool, and then I can put that to bed and say, right, at least I now know that there are aliens. I kind of want to know that.
And do you know what it is? It links a little bit back to the whole conspiracy theory thing, doesn't it? So I've just had a quick Google. So the Roswell incident was 1947, and this is how again, this is just Wikipedia, so any of you can look this up. Is the recovery of balloon debris from a ranch near Corona, New Mexico, by United States Army Air Force officers. So obviously the article kicks off balloon debris. So it says on the 8th of July, Roswell Army Airfield issued. Sorry, bear with me. On the 8th of July, 1947, Roswell Army Airfield issued a press release stating that they'd recovered a flying disc. The Army then quickly retracted the statement and said instead the crashed object was a conventional weather balloon. So basically, again, it just kind of went dark until the media kind of cottoned onto it and then has become a thing literally up until modern day. So even 1994, they published a report identifying the object as a nuclear test surveillance balloon, and they talked about the stories of alien bodies. So a number of people at Roswell, if I remember this program that I was half watching with my dad at the time, is that people had witnessed apparently the transport of alien bodies.
Yeah, well, we've seen that video, haven't we?
Yeah, yeah. And so they were collected and picked up. And then again, it's to address it. And it's weird because you'd think that if this was complete nonsense, you'd probably think that the military just wouldn't address it at all. So in 1997, a Second Air Force report concluded that the stories of alien bodies probably stemmed from test dummies being dropped from high altitude.
The thing that's always stuck out for me though about Roswell is like now you've said that it's like it's 80 years and it's still a thing. It
Yeah.
hasn't gone away. It's always going to be the um, it's kind of almost going to be like of the science world. It's going to be like the JFK assassination of the science world, isn't it? That people will always say with that, was he assassinated, or was it a lone shooter? Sorry, or who was involved?
Well,
With Roswell, it's going to be that's going to be the thing that will always be. Was that our first contact?
and do you know what it is as well? If aliens turned around and landed tomorrow, even if without the knowledge of any government in the world, everybody would not then trust their government because they'd be like, Roswell must have been aliens. All
Yeah,
of these
yeah,
instances in which aliens were a thing. There was actually, again, I'm just reading down, problems with the alien body witnesses. So, as for the accounts for those who claim to have seen aliens, critics identified problems ranging from the reliability of secondhand accounts to credibility problems with witnesses making demonstrably false claims or contradictory accounts. There were dubious deathbed confessions or accounts from elderly and easily confused witnesses. It was noted that only 4 people with supposed first-hand knowledge of alien bodies were interviewed by Roswell authors. All reports of bodies came a minimum of 31 years after the fact.
yeah. Well,
So that means
it's
the
really
first report of a body came in
70 odd. Yeah.
78.
But that makes me feel that it is real now because it's like everything. No, no, the ship. It was. Did you say it was a nuclear? What did you say it was? No, weather balloon. It was a weather
Yeah.
balloon. And like, yeah, no, no, that ain't a body. That's a dummy. Oh yeah, no, no, those people that've seen something, no, they didn't. That feels too many things have been described as something else. That makes me think now that it is real.
Do you think as well that potentially, because it's an event that happened in the United States, that there was always a level of conspiracy more so in the United States with lots of things? So when you look at conspiracy theories, a lot of the programs that you see on television are predominantly things either produced in the US or based on instances from the US. Like you've got issues with moon landings and conspiracy theories
Yeah.
about moon landings. We talked about like operations like MK Ultra and that sort of thing as in and of itself like a conspiracy theory, but kind of like in reality what was a true project. You look at Roswell. Do you think that it's maybe as well a cultural thing, that it's a conspiracy theory that's come about by virtue of the fact that in the US, I feel like conspiracy theories are more so
I think
pushed?
so. I think so, but also because America is so huge that
Yeah,
even over there, like if something happened here, we're so compact here that people are going to see it.
yeah,
Whereas in America, like, Roswell just coincidentally happened to be in the desert, didn't it?
yeah,
So if any of the population saw it, it was probably a tiny fraction of the population. So a conspiracy theory can bloom, I think, because of that. But here we're so densely populated that if anything happened, you'd have hundreds, if not thousands, of witnesses
yeah.
potentially.
Yeah, it's a fair point. It's a fair point.
Um,
But yeah, I
but I
mean,
did.
no, go on.
Well, no, no. I was going to say I did have one thing I did want to say is I've actually found because one of the other famous films was Close Encounter of the Third Kind, and I've actually got what the rankings are. So I just wanted to quickly go through them about alien contact.
Okay,
Um, it was an astronomer and UFO researcher called J. Allen Hynek in 1972 put a category of sightings, and you've got close encounters of the first kind. That's visual sighting of an unidentified flying object seemingly less than 500 feet away. That's showing appreciable angular extension and detail.
okay.
Close encounters of the second kind is a UFO event in which a physical effect is alleged. This can be interference of the functioning of a vehicle or electronic device, animals reacting, or a physiological effect such as paralysis or heat and discomfort in the witness, or some physical trace like impressions in the ground, scorched or otherwise affected vegetation or a chemical trace. So, yeah, this is where the alien event is actually causing an effect on people or things around it.
Okay.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind is a UFO encounter in which an animated entity is present, and these could include humanoids, robots, and humans who seem to be occupants or pilots of a UFO.
I fucking knew it was Transformers.
There you go. And what is it? You've got Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind is an event which a human is abducted by a UFO or its occupants.
Right,
Um,
okay.
this this was not included in the original scale, but has been added since. The fifth kind, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, is a UFO event claiming direct communication between aliens and humans.
Well, I don't see
So
the
they,
distinction between fourth kind and fifth kind because being abducted seems pretty fucking direct communication.
we'd like to think they talk to you while they're doing it, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah, yeah.
guess
While you're being probed.
Well, I guess yeah. I guess they're saying the fourth kind is purely just abduction, whereas the fifth one is where there's an attempt at communication between the two races or sets of people. But yeah, so I'd always wondered because I'd always heard close encounters of the. I'm mixing it up now. Is it the third kind or the fourth? Anyway, one of the kinds. But yeah, those are your kinds, your five kinds, and what they are. No, I wanted to throw it at you though. Sorry, because you asked me, and I don't think we asked you. What do you feel about
In terms
aliens?
of their existence or what I think they'd be like.
Both, both.
Yeah, like I said, I think that aliens or living species in the universe must be a thing. I think it would, like I said, I think I said this near the beginning, but I think it would be naive to think that other living things in the universe, which we know to be infinite, it would be stupid to think that we're the only things that exist. Like there are
Yeah.
planets. Is it 9 of them that we know of
I
in
don't know. They
our
keep
solar system?
changing. Yeah, they keep
Um,
changing what is or isn't a
because
planet. It feels
is
like.
Pluto a planet? Is it not a planet? We don't know still. So I think there must be. Do I think that aliens would fit the destruction narrative? No. I think that, but again, it comes from a human level. Do I think that aliens would spectate us? Yes. So if you were to ask me if I believe encounters with aliens and people being abducted, I would say absolutely not. Do I think crop circles are correct? Absolutely not. Do I think that there's potential in unexplained sightings of things in the air, of lights, of whatever it might be? Yeah, there might be a little bit of a potential there, only by virtue of the fact that that fits my narrative that I'm creating, that aliens would
Yeah.
spectate us for research purposes. Because we would do the same thing. What do we do with animals in the wild? We spectate them. We sit at a distance with cameras so that we can't be seen. So we spectate them doing what is natural to them. With uncontacted civilizations, what do? We fly overhead, we take satellite pictures. And when you think about it, if on North Sentinel Island, they must see planes, mustn't they?
Yeah.
Planes to them would be aliens
That's
to
true.
us.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
when you
true.
look at the context of that situation, you're looking at it and thinking, in reality, we're looking at that as an unidentified thing, but that's what we would do to spectate them. That's what we would do to spectate animals. So what would aliens that are advanced to us do with us? That's probably exactly the same thing. But again, that's thinking on a human level that aliens must think at least a little bit similarly to us. Because what is a helicopter? Imagine go. It's a bit like going back to the 1700s and a helicopter flying overhead. If you
Yeah. Yeah.
showed
Yeah.
someone that has
Yeah.
never seen a plane or a helicopter, they would think that the end of the world was coming, and it must be like either a god or it must be an alien, or do you know what I mean? That would be the perception that they had.
Yeah. No. Fair point. Fair point. I guess we'll know at some point.
Yeah, hope it's in our lifetime. That'd be quite cool.
Yeah, no, that's what I hope. That's what I hope. I mean, I do wonder if they're just sitting there, aliens, watching us, how we think about them and laughing at our attempts. I don't know, that's what they think we look like. That's how they think we travel. I just think they probably start getting a bit edgy when we start getting closer to the truth. Maybe that's when they start getting nervous. Like, do we go down there? Do we put a stop to this? I don't know.
But again, maybe is it in Star Trek? There's that scene with cigarettes in Star Trek.
I don't
Is it
know which one.
not? No, not Star Trek. It might not be Star Trek. It might be like a spoof parody or something. I don't know. But I've seen a clip somewhere. It's basically an alien species, and what they do is they create like a packet of cigarettes, and they're talking with each other, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Yes, this is a cigarette. This was smoked because it gave you a nicotine rush." And then it says, "And at the time caused cancer, which was at the time commonly fatal." And they were like, "Oh my god, these people died from cancer and that sort of thing." Like, it was a brilliant sketch, and I thought to myself, I was like, maybe it is like aliens are just taking the piss out of us for doing dumb shit. Like they're like, "Oh
We're
my
their
god, they haven't discovered
playthings.
clean energy yet."
They think we want to go visit them.
Yeah,
They're laughing at us. They're
because
laughing at us.
one of the final references that I had, and you'll like this because it's a game reference, is Mass Effect.
Oh yeah. Oh, Mass Effect. Yeah, that's how I want it to be. That's how I want the future to be. Yeah.
Like it's like a collaborative galaxy, but there's Reapers in Mass Effect, which are just like planet destroyers for the sake of destroying planets.
Yeah, yeah. I guess, we've always got an evil that we have to fight. But no, I just think Mass Effect would be brilliant. That's how I want to see the future, where you're just zipping along in those mass relays and then you've got like your alien races and you're just hanging out. That is what I want it to be.
You're like, fuck, there's a
We could
Reaper,
talk
go
about Mass Effect.
faster.
Yeah, we could talk about Mass Effect all day. the noise they make. Anyway, sorry, you've got me started. You should have said this at the start.
Yeah, because then, but we'd be at an hour and 20 minutes having not moved on to anything else.
But why can't that be the vision of what it
Yeah,
could be like? Even though there's a
but
lot of
again,
hatred
then
between some of the races, the aliens,
no,
but
but
that
when you
just
think
seems to be.
about it, that's quite, again, looking at it from the human perspective, you look at that and you think, okay, so for instance, we have wars, don't we? And we talked about,
Yeah.
imagine if like planets were a thing, there'd be less people on Earth. And so statistically, I guess there'd just be less opportunity for conflict. If we were like an intergalactic species and we could travel around and you could go to Las Cantina or whatever it's called in Star Wars, where
Yeah.
you meet all of these other alien races, would it be a case of, oh well, this planet and this planet have got beef with this planet, like Earth and planet Starlight have got beef with planet Zorgon? Do you know what I mean? And all of a sudden you're doing interplanetary wars, because that's just what it is it's like just behavior but toned up to a bigger scale.
Yeah, behavior. There's like I said, people always want more, don't they? So yeah.
Yeah, this is the thing. Yeah, and that would be a depressing reality, but you would hope that it would be more collaborative. But again, I guess, from human theory, humans are humans, aren't we? So always got our flaws.
Have you got anything else? Because there's something I need to say that before we wrap up that I forgot to say right at the start. So have you got anything else on aliens?
No, I think that's probably everything. Yeah, I think that in terms of a what if, I think that the narrative about aliens being destructive for the sake of is probably false. I would think that aliens would just be like researchers spectating
Yes.
us,
So
reporting
aliens,
back
if
to
you're
their planet,
listening
being
to
like,
us,
yeah, we.
Lou and I are up for you coming down and saying
Oh
hi.
my god,
So
get on the pod, send us some radio signals. Like, imagine that. It's just like it takes 6 years for the signal to get to us, and then we send the next line back.
before they do that, can they subscribe, rate, and like, please? Though, can you?
You're going to see a review on the website in like Wingdings characters.
This is nothing like what aliens would be like. Right, no, all I wanted to say, I forgot to say at the start, we are in the process changing our hosting platform. So we're gonna be moving platform in the next couple of weeks. Now, it should be seamless, and I say should be. All our episodes should just go over, no problems. If you are listening and you are subscribed, just keep it, each week. If you just for now, next couple of weeks, just check your subscription status to us, and yeah, we'll let you know when it's completed.
And hopefully there should be no interruptions to regular service.
Yeah, we'll be fine. We'll be
But
fine.
with us, there's always tech issues, so just bear with us. Right, aliens.
That's a half hour. No, that's the half hour you keep me wait when you have to restart and stuff. And
Again, we're going to clip all of these like
we never.
pre-recording bits
I
together
need
at
to
some point.
record. I actually need to do the video footage once. We never go straight into an episode.
I'm like, bear with me, reset. We're talking in sign language. See, at that point, it'd be useful if we could use telekinesis. So I'd be like, Dan, my
Episode
fucking
44.
computer.
I think this is episode 44. Oh no, or episode 40. I think this is, and we're still having tech issues at the start, but seamless to the listener. So
It is indeed. Right, that wraps up aliens. Does this wrap up also what if
it
themes?
does for now.
It does
I'm
indeed.
sure we'll
Yeah,
do some more.
yeah. I feel like there's quite a lot of scope in reality
Yeah,
for topics like this, which I
had
think
fun
I've
with
quite
this. I've had
enjoyed.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have as well. But yeah, if you think aliens exist, give us a note. If you've had an encounter with an alien, whether it be first, fourth, second, third, fourth, or fifth kind, please do let us know. If you are an alien and you're listening to this, please do get in touch. You can email us. You can use telekinesis if that's something you're capable
Let us
of.
know your intentions in that email, though, please.
Yeah. Or if you don't have human senses and you can't hear, we can do transcript form for you potentially.
Or let us know what music you do want pumped out into space. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You get an email being like, stop with this Britney Spears shit.
Can you do me a mixtape, please? Yeah.
But yeah, so if you are an intergalactic species and you are listening to this, as always, we'll leave you with, we know there are many podcasts from which you can choose, so we thank you for listening to Cast in Views.